I ran away from my own wedding in the rain, in my dress, barefoot, toward the man who had stayed silent for 8 years. Have you ever stood at the altar and felt your heart drifting further and further away from the person holding your hand? My name was Sophia, and that day, I was supposed to become Mrs. Jack Warren. Everything was perfect. A couture white gown, 300 guests, the wedding march, flowers flown in from Provence, and a groom I loved. Or at least, so I thought. Jack was handsome, successful, attentive. He gave me diamonds, took me to Paris, knew exactly how I liked my coffee. But he didn't know I was afraid of the dark. He didn't know I wrote poetry at night. He didn't know my heart raced, not at his touch, but at the sound of his best friend's voice. His name was Andy. They'd been friends since childhood. Andy was always there, at birthdays, on trips, even on Jack's and my very first dates. He stayed quiet, smiled, held my coat, never crossed a line, and I tried not to notice how my breath caught whenever he looked at me. But everything changed a week before the wedding. Jack and I threw a farewell dinner for our friends. It was lively, noisy, full of wine. Later, I stepped out onto the balcony for some air, and saw Andy. He stood by the railing, staring out over the city, smoking, a habit he only indulged in moments of real pain. "You're leaving tomorrow?" he asked without turning around. "We're flying off on our honeymoon," I replied. "And your heart? Is it coming with you?" I froze. "Are you joking?" 8 years I've stayed silent, Sophia. 8 years watching you choose him. But today I couldn't hold back anymore. He turned. His eyes held not hope, but farewell. "I've loved you since the day you first laughed at one of his jokes, and I realized you weren't laughing because it was funny, but because you wanted him to be happy." I said nothing. Just walked back inside. But from that night on, I woke each morning with the same question. What if him choosing the wrong person? Wedding day arrived. I put on my dress, smiled at my reflection, kissed my mother. But as I walked down the aisle, holding my father's arm, I wasn't looking at Jack. I was searching the room for Andy. He stood at the very back, alone. And when our eyes met, I knew, if I said yes now, I'd lose myself forever. At the altar, the priest asked, "Sophia, do you take Jack to be your husband?" Silence. The guests held their breath. Jack looked at me with a confident smile. Then I lifted my veil. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I can't." I didn't run. I simply walked, past stunned faces, past shattered glasses, past a future that was no longer mine. Outside, rain poured down. I kicked off my shoes. My dress clung to my skin. And suddenly, he was there. Andy stood beneath a street lamp, holding an old jacket and an umbrella. "I knew you'd come," he said. "I've waited 8 years for you. One more day, and I would've left." "Where to?" "Somewhere I wouldn't have to watch you live someone else's life." I ran to him. He held me as if bringing me home. "You're soaked," he whispered. "But free," I replied. A month later, we left for a small seaside town. No rings. No marriage certificate. Just us, together. Jack tried to find me, but I sent him one letter. "You deserve a love that never doubts." And I couldn't love while closing my eyes to the truth. 5 years have passed since then. We don't have a mansion, but we built our own home. No diamonds, but every morning, I wake to his gaze, the very one I once tried to hide from. And no regrets. Because real love doesn't demand sacrifice. It asks for only one thing: the courage to say no to a life that isn't yours and yes to yourself.